So next you check sort of why this whole thing sort of fall apart at that point. Sort of a missing, I mean, whenever you say something like that, you say, wow, that's not a bad, you know, if I own the whole business. Remember, you always sort of think as yourself as a business owner, if I own this business, if I can buy the whole business at this price, you know, you probably want to own it. And it's not a bad name, right? Most people recognize Timberland as a brand, right? So what is the reason at the time? What's turned out is that was the height of the Asian financial crisis, that all their competitors, especially Nike and Reebok, see their sales, especially in Asia, falling out of a cliff. And so the whole contingency, sort of all their apparels, all the retails of shoes and international brand, anything that has exposure to Asia, all fall apart. But what else is going on? So you try to check, you know, what other people are thinking about this. You know, you may not really listen to their advice, but you want to really know what other people are looking at. So you check to see whether there's any analyst report. It turned out there's no analyst report. Nobody covered this. Well, for a company that's doing about $1 billion in sales, it's a reasonable company, it's a big brand. So why nobody kind of cover about this? Any possible reasons you can speculate? Yes.
They don't have the balance sheet, maybe they don't go to capital markets, and so they don't need, there's no analysts that basically sell products.
Which is good or bad for you?
For an investor, it's good.
Fabulous for you. Fabulous for you. And you go back to, say, 10, 15 years. The good thing about value line is you go back to 10, 15 years, and you see whether they ever really need to that money. What did you find in the business over the last whatever years? It's been growing. The profitability has improved dramatically over the recent years, but has always been pretty profitable. And therefore, their need for financial market is very limited. Any other reasons? What's the ownership structure? Yes?
It's a family-owned business.
Yes. What do you mean by family-owned?
Like the family controls.
They own 40% of it. How much vote they control?
Like they have a class B.
They have 100% vote, basically, 98%, right? So immediately that turn off a whole bunch of people. And then you say, what, you know, how the investor has been basically reacting to them in the past. You can do a quick kind of a data search. And this is really why, you know, I say that a investor should really investigate a journalist, because we have a journalist here. I'm sure if I ask the journalist, look at this question, you know, the first thing you would say would go through all of this question I just asked. And pretty easily you can find all the answers, and very quickly. And so you got to have a very active, very curious mind, and you just wouldn't really satisfy with any bogus answers. Otherwise, you can't really be in this business. So you go and you find there's actually a whole bunch of a different shareholder lawsuit. Now you have an owner owns 40%, owns almost 100% of the vote, and most of the shareholder doesn't have a vote, and you have no analysts cover them, and there are a whole bunch of a shareholder lawsuit. So immediately that if you don't know anything about the business, if you're the 95% of the other investor, what conclusion you would draw? What would be your conclusion? If you were kind of, you know, a normal mutual fund or a hedge fund trading-oriented investment manager, what would you say to this situation now that you find all this information? Please.
I think that there is not enough good information to really touch the stock.
Yep.
So therefore, it doesn't worth to own it.
Right.
It's too risky.
Anything else? Yes.
I probably think, I mean, the problem is temporary.
Right.
And the stock is more case non-liquid.
Right.
So I may not put my money in.
Right. Anything else? Yes.
Be concerned about the liquidity.
Yes. Anything else? You guys are not skeptical enough. Well, would you really worried about that that management might be milking money from the company? Might be manipulating their books because they control everything. There's virtually no constraints on what they do. And the fact there are a whole bunch of a lawsuit that tells you to complain about something, right? So what do you do next? What do you do next? Well, yes, that's one thing. Anything else? What?
Check the court record.
Absolutely. You download every single piece of the document of the court cases, every single case, and read them from page. And that's why I was saying that if you don't have a curious mind, if you just want to do it because you want to make money out of it, the chances are you're not going to do this. You have to really figure that I'm just so curious. They said, what's happening? This doesn't add up. And you have to dig every single thing. As you read everything, as I did, the first part, it takes you less than, a couple minutes. You look at that one, you say, that's really what all the questions you read leads you to all of that. So upon I can possibly find all the cases I can find. All the cases really come down to really one thing. Actually, it's basically one complaint. It's just multiple filings. But, somebody really say, well, they used to provide some guidance, and they didn't deliver, and the investor get pissed off. And so the owner also get pissed off. You can, vividly see his defense. You can get a sense of his personality by reading those documents. He said, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to talk to the street. I'm not going to give any guidance. I don't need a damn of a dollar from anybody else. The business is wonderful. Okay, so that removes a big cloud. So the next thing, what do? Well, if they really run this way, the next question is, okay, maybe they're not crooks, but are they good managers? How do we know that? Are they decent people? How do we know about that? How do we go about to find that? What do?
You can operate in margins, but you're not sure the numbers that you're nudging the company, but they're making a profit, and if they're audited, so that.
Sure. Anything else you can do? How do you know his personality? Yes.
You try and call his neighbors.
Good idea.
First directory will give you their names and phone numbers.
Great. What do you call? What do you tell the neighbors?
I tell them the truth. I'm an investor.
Yeah.
I'm concerned. Well, one of the market's concerns maybe that management may not be honest, and I'd like your opinion of it.
Well, what if you just say, go to hell? You'll hang up?
Well, I try and.
Most people will tell you, go to hell. I'm busy. But it's a nice try. Anything else? Yeah. That's right. There was no Google back then, but that's a good idea. Now, the point is, you got to really go. Again, I just happen to have a journalist here, but I always view this job as investigative journalist. Most of the people who have built businesses also have a big personality, have a history you can go to audit, have left a trail of evidence of what kind of person they are, and what they have done, how they deal with the different situations. It is not that difficult, but you have to. Most professional managers wouldn't really consider that as a part of their business. But I'm telling you, you're the 5%. If you end up to be the 5%, maybe you're not. But if you try to be that 5%, that's what you do. You go to see their community. You go to the church or synagogues, and you go, you go visit everybody. You sort of get yourself to be part of that. And you introduce yourself to all their friends and families and neighbors. Don't just call them. Go there. Spend a few weeks there. It's worth it. It's worth it. Just to spend as much time you can possibly be to try to find him. Find what he has done to his community. What does neighbors and friends say about him? That tells you more about this personality. And you want to find the family dynamics. This fellow actually only graduated high school, never really went to have a college. Relatively simple guy, but a nice, decent guy. Has been very philanthropic. Go to synagogues, but not terribly devoted. But the more interesting thing, he has a son who actually went to business school as well. was actually my age at the time. It was in the mid-30s, early to mid-30s. And at the time already assumed to be a COO of the company. So I did all of the things I suggest to all of you. I did further, and I find what the sons, all the board of the father and the sons on. And I find one of the board the son was on actually is run by a friend of mine. So I invite myself to be on the board. So I joined on the board along with the son, and we become very close friends. And then I really know what's going on in that family. It's turned out this is one of the most admiring family I've ever met. They are people of the highest integrity. They're wonderful. And they also happen to be brilliant businessmen. So after all of that, the stock actually still trading right around 30s. And so that's sort of, you kind of answered, you sort of know, did I miss anything? You sort of say, probably not, I didn't miss anything. The other 95% just don't know, or their industry imperative does not allow them to do anything about it.